Doug, what exactly is a food desert?
Well, a food desert is really any place that lacks convenient access to nutritious foods. And so that access is composed of really both availability and affordability. So to have access, there needs to be a location where someone can get nutritious foods, and then those foods also need to be affordable.
What is the issue behind the affordability? Why is it more expensive to have food in, say, a food desert?
But in food deserts, especially in rural places, in rural Oklahoma, they're actually defined as by counties normally, and they're a county in which 25% or more of the population is greater than 10 miles from a superstore, or from a supermarket.
Okay.
So you want me to repeat that?
Go ahead and just repeat this right there.
Okay.
What the definition is.
So in rural counties in Oklahoma, a food desert is defined as a place in which more than 25% of the population is greater than 10 miles from a grocery store.
Okay. What is the issue about affordability, about availability as well?
Right. Okay. Well, yes. On affordability, if they're greater than that distance, and many of our rural residents are elderly and also lower income, and we have higher poverty in rural populations, and transportation becomes a huge issue in rural counties as the distance from the store increases. And so the options that are left are often convenience stores or very small grocer type stores that lack selection and also tend to have higher prices. And so that's where you get into the affordability when a larger selection of nutritious foods isn't available. Then when they do become available, they're often more expensive.
Yeah. This isn't exactly a recent occurrence, but what is behind this trend that we're seeing?
Well, it's related primarily to decline in population. In rural areas in rural Oklahoma, where we've seen pretty major shifts in the farming demographics and the population. We've seen over the last 50 to 75 years a decline in the number of farms as farms have gotten larger, and farming has become less profitable. And with that, we've lost population. And with fewer people to support the stores that were there. And in many of those rural food desert counties, we have still seen an increase in the number of sort of your super centers. Not the supermarkets, but the general merchandise, Walmart type stores. And as those move in, they put a lot of pressure on the smaller grocery store and supermarkets, which can't really compete. And as they go out, the distance to that supercenter, to where the groceries are, becomes greater for people in those counties.
Let me ask that again. What is the solution? Or let me ask this one more time. Is there a local solution to some of the problems that we're seeing?
There are local solutions. Many of these areas have a lot of resources and assets that are often overlooked. It may not be economic development right now, but there are often in our rural counties, there are a lot of natural resources that are very important to people who aren't in those rural areas, whether they be farming enterprises, agritourism, or just general natural landscapes, parks, and other destinations, and a lot of cultural resources. And those are things that can be further developed, as well as really encouraging entrepreneurship and innovation at the local level, working with state and local government to rely on a lot of the resources that we have for training and vocational education, and looking at addressing some of the poverty issues that we have, which are a function of limited economic development, as a chance to develop marketable skills in these areas, and increasing population as a bringing people back into these communities is one way to re-energize and to give stores a customer base that they, and to look at smaller stores. And this is something behind the Healthy Corner Store initiative that's happening, which is the idea of having, doesn't have to be a full-line grocer, and especially if you start eliminating a lot of the unhealthful food items that are on the grocery store aisles and focusing on primarily on the basics and the produce and the meats and the dairy and grain products. There are a lot of things that are in the stores that are we really don't need, and we've come quite attached to. But these Healthy Corner stores, working with local farmers and local food businesses and enterprises, can keep food dollars circulating within those communities, providing jobs and shortening the distance to the store.